237 tried. 237 failed. One lasted 8 seconds. One left on a stretcher. One never spoke about it again. The rule was simple. Move him. Just one step. No strikes. No tricks. No mercy. He stood there, unmoving. 385 pounds of anchored human mass. They called him the Wall. Not his real name, because walls don't move. They absorb. And tonight, in a packed hall in 1967, under lights that buzzed like trapped insects, with cigarette smoke hanging low and heavy, someone whispered the impossible. A man half his size was going to try. The challenge started 6 months earlier. Osaka. An underground exhibition hall beneath a textile warehouse. Concrete floors. Oil-stained. Air thick with sweat and tobacco. The prize, $80,000. 4 years' salary for most men in that room. Cash. In a black briefcase. Locked. Untouched. All you had to do was move him. He stood 6'2", weighed 385 pounds, body like layered stone, neck disappearing into shoulders wider than doorways, his feet planted like roots, toes spread, gripping the earth. They measured it. His center of gravity sat lower than most men's hips. Physics, not pride. He didn't fight. He didn't strike. He just existed. And no one could move existence. Clears throat. First challenger. A national judo champion. 5'11", 210 pounds. Explosive. Decorated. Confident. He gripped. Pulled. Shifted angles. Nothing. At 3.1 seconds his feet left the ground. Not by choice. He was lifted. Tilted. 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 Dropped. Spine hit concrete. Air gone. Challenge over. Second challenger. A dock worker. Massive forearms. Hands like iron clamps. He tried brute force, wrapped his arms around the waist. At 2.4 seconds his ribs compressed, a sound like cracking wood. He collapsed. Didn't get back up. Third challenger lasted 8 seconds. Everyone remembers him. Because he almost did it. Almost. He shifted the weight. Half an inch. Half an inch matters. But then momentum reversed. The wall leaned forward. And gravity finished the story. 200 tried. 200 failed. Size always wins. That was the rule. Row 11. C3. He's not watching the stage. Not really. He's reading. A small notebook. Numbers scribbled in tight, precise handwriting. Angles. Arrows. Timing sequences. White shirt. Black trousers. Still, someone bumps his shoulder. Doesn't react. Another man laughs loudly nearby. He turns a page. His name isn't announced. Not yet, but the people who know, they keep glancing back. Because this isn't his first impossible problem. Oakland. Seattle. Hong Kong. Demonstrations where men flew backward without wind, where distance collapsed into inches. Jeet Kune Do. The way of the intercepting fist. Not style. Not tradition. Principle. Efficiency. Directness. No wasted motion. He studies the stage, measures distance, counts steps, watches failed attempts replay in his mind. And then, something behind his eyes just changed. Not visible, but real. He closes the notebook. 3 days earlier, a small apartment. Bare walls, wooden floor. A phone rests between shoulder and ear. Describe his stance. Pause. Feet width. Another pause. Center line exposed or protected. He listens, walks slowly across the room. Timing between breath and shift? He stops. Silence. Calculating. He's not immovable, he says quietly. He's delayed. On the other end, confusion. What? Mass commits slower than speed. he says, Soppin 6 seconds behind intention. He writes it down. Soppin 6, that's the window. He hangs up. No training montage, no weights, no running. Just thought. He steps forward, stops, measures distance again. Entry must be inside his perception, he murmurs. Not strength. Timing. Not force. Angle. If I meet him. He shakes his head. No. Option 1, push. Failed. Option 2, pull. Failed. Option 2, pull. Failed. Option 3, collide. Failed. Option 4. He smiles slightly. Intercept. Back to the hall. The lights are brighter now. Hotter. The air smells like tension. Sharp. Metallic. Crowd packed shoulder to shoulder. 237 witnesses tonight. The briefcase sits at the edge of the stage. Untouched. A man near the front wipes sweat from his lip, even though he's not the one fighting. The announcer steps forward. Voice loud. Echoing. Next challenger? Silence. 4 seconds. 5. No one moves, because everyone knows. Size always wins. Then a chair scrapes softly. Row 11. Seat 3. He stands. No drama. No music. Just movement. I'll try. Quiet. Almost lost in the noise. The man next to him laughs. Loud. Sharp. You. Another voice. Sit down. This isn't for you. Someone grabs his arm. Don't. He gently removes the hand and walks. Distance to stage, 27 feet, each step measured. Soft. The opponent shifts slightly. The stage creaks, because when he moves, everything moves. When Bruce walks, the floor barely notices. The distance closes. 20 feet, 15, 10. The air changes. People lean back, not out of respect, out of instinct. Because when two forces approach, you feel it. The announcer squints. Confused. Name. A pause. Bruce. Just that. No last name. Some recognize it. Most don't. The opponent looks down. Really looks. 138 pounds. It's announced. A ripple through the crowd. Then laughter. Not cruel. Certain. Like watching a candle challenge a storm. Snorts. You're too small to move me, the giant says. Not angry. Not mocking. Just stating fact. Bruce nods. I don't need to move you, he replies. That line lands strange. Incomplete. It matters. They step onto the stage. Wood underfoot. Slight give. Bruce feels it. Registers density. Flex. The opponent plants himself. Feet spread, toes gripping, center of gravity low. Stable. Unshakable. Bruce stands opposite. No wide stance, no tension. Just alignment. Center line forward. Spine relaxed. Hands loose. The contrast is absurd. One is a mountain. The other a line. A whisper against thunder. What would you do? Someone in the crowd mutters. No answer. Because there is no answer. Push, crushed. Pull, lifted. Stand, flattened. Option 1, 2, 3. All gone. Bruce glances once. At the feet. At the knees. At the breath. Inhale. Exhale. Timing. 0.6 seconds. He whispers, barely audible. Not where you are, where you're going. The opponent doesn't understand. Doesn't need to. He's never needed to understand. He just wins. A man near the back stands up suddenly. No, he says. No, this is wrong. He leaves. Walks out. Doesn't look back. Because some people can see outcomes early, and they don't want to watch them happen. The announcer raises his hand. Silence spreads. 3 seconds. 2. 1. The bell rings. The giant moves. Not fast, but unstoppable, like a landslide deciding. Each step heavy. Final. The stage groans. Distance closes fast. This is where everyone fails. This exact moment. Freeze. Crushed. Retreat. Cornered. Attack. Overwhelmed. Every challenger chose one of three. Bruce chooses option 4. He steps in. Not back. Not sideways. Forward. At 0.3 seconds, he's already inside the reach. Too close for force. Too close for power. This is important. The giant's arms begin to wrap. Mass shifting. Momentum building. At 0.6 seconds, commitment. Irreversible. But Bruce isn't there anymore. Not gone. Just not where expected. 2 inches offline. Angle 17 degrees. His foot slides, barely visible. Water, not stone. The giant's weight continues forward. Because mass cannot stop instantly. Physics doesn't allow it. Bruce's hand touches. Light, not push, not strike. Guidance. Center line disrupted, not broken. Tilted. At 1:11 seconds the giant stumbles. Not much, half an inch. But remember, half an inch matters. Confusion. You can see it. A flicker. Because this hasn't happened before. Ever. He resets. Plants again. This time faster. Angrier. He charges. Full commitment. At 0.2, Bruce is still. At 0.4, Bruce breathes. At 0.6, the giant arrives. And again, nothing. Because Bruce isn't meeting force, he's erasing it. He steps through the center. Not around. Through. Shoulder brushes past. Hip rotates. Minimal. Precise. Leverage applied at the exact moment of imbalance. The giant turns, unintentionally. His own force redirects him. A circle begins, slow, but undeniable. How? Someone whispers. No answer. Because they're asking the wrong question. Third exchange. The giant hesitates now. Just for a fraction. 0.2 seconds. But hesitation changes timing. Bruce sees it. He counts. 1, 2, 3. He moves before movement, intercepting intention. Jeet Kune Do. The way of intercepting, not reacting. Arriving first. This time, contact. Real. Bruce places his hand on the chest. 1 inch. That's all. No wind-up. No visible force. Just alignment. Structure. Everything from the ground, through the body, into that single point. He could release it. He could. And if he did. Not metaphor. Literal. The giant would fall. Hard. Maybe break something. Maybe more. But he doesn't. He stops. 1 inch from completion. Because this was never about winning. The giant freezes. For the first time. Not physically. Mentally. Because he felt it. The potential. The inevitability. And the choice. Bruce steps back. 2 steps. Distance restored. Silence. 4 seconds. 5. No one breathes. The announcer stammers. Time. 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 Someone shouts. How many seconds? Bruce turns slightly. 6, he says. Not proud. Not loud, just accurate. The crowd erupts. Not cheering. Not at first. More like release. Like pressure leaving a sealed room. Then sound. Loud. Uncontrolled. People stand. Shout. Point. Shout. Point. But Bruce is already walking. Back across the 27 feet. Same steps. Same softness. The stage no longer matters. The giant doesn't follow. Doesn't move. Because, for the first time, he understands something. Mass is not control. The briefcase remains. locked, untouched. Bruce never looks at it, never asks, never collects, because money wasn't the point. At the door, someone catches up. How? They ask, breathing hard. How did you move him? Bruce pauses. Just once. You don't move the mountain, he says. You let it move itself. Then he leaves. 237 tried. 237 failed. 1 succeeded. 6 seconds. Osaka, 1967. No records kept. No footage found. Just witnesses. And a story that spread quietly, because some things don't need proof. They need understanding. That night, the mountain met the water, and the water chose not to break it. The hall doesn't empty quickly. It lingers, like something unfinished. Groups form in corners. Voices low. Urgent. No, you didn't see it. He didn't push. He barely touched him. That wasn't strength. That was what was that. No one has the language, because they're trying to describe something they've never seen. A man near the stage crouches down, touches the wood, as if the answer is in the floorboards. It isn't. Another walks up to the giant, careful, slow. Are you all right? The giant doesn't respond immediately. He looks at his own hands, opens them, closes them, as if testing something that used to be certain. He didn't move me, he says finally. A pause. He moved when I moved. That distinction hangs in the air. Heavy, because it rewrites everything. Outside, the night is cooler. Air sharp, clean. Bruce steps into it without looking back. Street lights hum overhead, casting long shadows that stretch and break with each step. A car passes. Distant. He walks alone. Always alone after moments like this. Not because he has to be. Because he chooses to be. 3 blocks away, he stops. Not abruptly. Just pauses. Replays it. Not emotionally. Technically. At 0.3 entry was clean. At 0.3 mind sex timing matched prediction. At 1.1 imbalance achieved. But at 2.0, he frowns slightly. Too much, he murmurs. Too much force. Even held back. Even restrained. Because control isn't just doing less. It's doing exactly enough. No more, no less. A memory surfaces. His training partner's voice. You're not fighting a man that size, the voice had said. You're fighting gravity. Bruce had smiled then. Not out of arrogance. Out of recognition. Because gravity has patterns. Back in the hall, the briefcase is still there. Someone finally opens it. Stacks of cash. Real. Heavy. Counted. $80,000. Untouched. A man reaches in. Stops. Pulls his hand back. Because suddenly, it feels like taking something you didn't earn. Even though the rules said otherwise. Even though the challenge was met. Because everyone knows this wasn't a victory. It was a demonstration. Kier's throat. A week later, the story spreads, not loudly, not in headlines, but in gyms, dojo floors, training halls, whispered between rounds. Did you hear? A small guy moved him. No, not moved something else. Details shift, exaggerate, distort. But one thing stays constant. 6 seconds. Always 6. Months pass. The giant returns. Same hall, same challenge, same stance. But something is different. Subtle, hard to see, easy to feel. He's thinking now. Just a fraction. Before he moves. That 0.2 second hesitation. It's still there. And because of it, he's no longer unbeatable. Still dominant. Still massive. But no longer absolute. Because once doubt enters, certainty never fully returns. A young fighter steps up. Not as strong, not as fast. But he's watched. Listened. learned. He doesn't push, doesn't pull. He steps, angles, redirects. Not perfectly, not clean, but enough. The giant shifts, 1 inch, then 2. And suddenly, the impossible has a crack somewhere else. Different city, different room. Bruce stands in front of a mirror, not admiring, observing, always observing. He raises his hand, stops at 1 inch from the surface, feels the tension, the potential, the control. Be like water, he says quietly, not as a metaphor, as instruction. Water adapts. Water yields. Water doesn't oppose force. It absorbs, redirects, becomes. He lowers his hand, turns away, because for him, this isn't an ending. It's data. One more piece. One more confirmation. That size is a variable, not a verdict. Years later, someone asks him about it. Casual. Curious. Is it true, they say, that you moved a man twice your size? Bruce tilts his head, considers. No, he says, a beat. I didn't move him. The person waits, expecting more. Bruce smiles slightly. He moved himself. What would you do? Standing there, 385 pounds in front of you, breathing, waiting, certain. Would you push? Would you pull? Would you freeze? Or would you see what no one else sees? Because the lesson was never about strength, never about size, not even about speed. It was about timing, precision, understanding, the invisible mechanics beneath visible force. 237 tried. 237 failed. 1 understood. 6 seconds, not to defeat, not to dominate, but to reveal. No trophy, no record, no footage. No footage, just a moment, shared by 237 witnesses that quietly rewrote what was possible. And somewhere, in that dim hall beneath a warehouse, where the air once smelled of smoke and certainty, there's still an echo of footsteps. Heavy, then light. A pause, a shift, the night the mountain leaned and realized it had been moving all along. And that realization, that small, quiet fracture in certainty, it spreads, not like fire, like water. Slow, persistent, impossible to stop once it begins. In Tokyo, a judo instructor changes one thing, just one. He stops teaching strength first. Starts with balance. Students don't understand. Not yet. In Hong Kong, a Wing Chun practitioner rewatches his forms. Centerline. Always centerline. But now, he asks a different question. Not where to strike, where the opponent will be. In California, a young fighter hears the story secondhand. Laughs. 6 seconds, impossible. Then he tries something small. Just once. He steps instead of pushing. And something clicks. Not fully, but enough. This is how ideas move. Not loudly, not all at once, but through moments, through people, through understanding. Back to that night. Because something else happened. Something quieter, easier to miss. When Bruce stepped away, when the 6 seconds ended, there was a moment. Tiny. Almost invisible. The giant took 1 step. Not forward. Not back. To the side. Just one. Unnecessary. Unforced. But different. Before that night, he never stepped unless he chose to. After that night, his body remembered something new. That it could be guided. That it could be redirected. That mass is not immune to influence. And that is the part no one talks about. Not the movement. Not the timing. Not even the restraint. But the change, because the real impact of those 6 seconds wasn't on the stage. It was in the mind of a man who had never questioned himself. Snorts. Years later, someone tracks him down. Older now. Still large. Still imposing. But softer around the edges. Time does that. Tell me about that night, they ask. He sits, quiet for a long time. Then, he didn't fight me, he says. A pause. He made me fight myself. That sentence doesn't make headlines, doesn't spread like the story. But it should, because it explains everything. Force against force is simple, predictable, limited, but force against understanding, that's different. Bruce knew that. Not because he was stronger, not because he was faster, but because he saw deeper. Into timing, into structure, into the small delays between intention and action. 0.6 seconds. That was the window. Not guessed, not hoped, measured, observed, understood. And in that window, everything changes. The crowd that night, 237 people, they came to watch dominance, to see a mountain remain unmoved, to see failure repeat itself, over and over and over again. What they saw instead was a question, quiet, unassuming, but powerful. What if size isn't the advantage? What if strength is slower than precision? What if the thing you trust most is the very thing that can be used against you? Those questions don't leave easily. They linger. In training halls, in late-night thoughts, in moments just before action. And that's where the real shift happens. Not in 6 seconds, but in everything after. Bruce never wrote it down, never documented the event. No lecture, no explanation. Because some lessons aren't meant to be taught directly, they're meant to be discovered. But if you look closely in his philosophy in Jeet Kune Duffers, it's all there. Intercept, adapt, flow, not meet force. End it before it begins. And maybe that's why he never took the money. Not pride, not humility, clarity, because you don't get paid for proving a principle. You just prove it. And walk away. What would you do if you knew you only needed 6 seconds? Not to win, not to overpower, but to understand. 6 seconds. To see what others don't. To act where others hesitate. To move without trying to move. 237 tried. 237 failed. One didn't try at all. Osaka, 1967. No cameras, no slow motion, just human eyes, trying to keep up with something faster than expectation, and maybe that's why the story survives, because it feels impossible. And yet it isn't. It's physics, timing, awareness. It's knowing that the mountain is never truly still, that it's always shifting, always adjusting, always just a fraction behind itself. And in that fraction, in that barely measurable delay, lies the opening. The space where water enters, where it doesn't break the rock but reshapes it. Over time. Or, in 6 seconds,